What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Coach here. After a very long hiatus, welcome back to Team Burner World, and welcome back to the new sauce of Prism Dragons, because I wanted to play it, and it's basically Ancient World, but with better support. The Buddy, Crystal, Radiant Dragon, Thor came off the trial deck, pretty solid card, 7/2/7, one soul, 2 gauge to call it. If it's on your center, during your opponent's turn, it can't be destroyed by card effects. Really nice. Double attack, so good. Play 3 of that just because I like it enough that when I go first, I'm gonna let it sit there. But I don't like enough to play it at 4 because it doesn't do enough. You understand? But yeah. Next we play the Green Crystal Dragon Shell Dragon, whatever. 8/2/5, 1 soul, 2 gauge to call it. When it's destroyed, you get a life. And when you got 7 or more life, when it swings, you destroy your monster in your opponent's field. Double attack, Soul Guard. He's mostly, if I'm going second on my, like, as in, if it's the first turn and it's, I draw off a turn, whatever, I usually plop him down because 9 times out of 10 your opponent's putting 1 monster down, or however they set up their board, so you can just knock that out the way without even swinging on it. Or if you do, also do note that his destroying ability is not optional, so when he swings you just have to do it. So that's a little concerning at some points because you can't necessarily do something else in some instances. Next, 2 copies of Blue Crystal Dragon, Calvados. The 7/6. It gets 1 soul and 1 gauge to call it. When it's being attacked, doesn't matter where it is, but 9 times out of 10 it's in the center. When it's being attacked, you nullify Penetrate, and when it leaves the field, you get a gauge. So he essentially pays for himself. And then lastly, size 3s, everyone's favorite card, Quintessent Crystal Dragon, the Thor, 7/7, 3 gauge to call it. It gets 2 soul. When it's on the center, your opponent essentially just has to knuckle it. So it can't be destroyed by card effects, and you can't be dealt damage. So you just have to, deal with it essentially. It's a very bully card for decks that can't have an answer to it in most cases. So no Penetrate, no Thunder Mine, no Burn, whatever. Double attack, Soul Guard. We play 3 Galette, size 1, 3/2/1, 1 gauge to call it, gets a soul. When you have a throw in your field, it gets reduced to 0. And the monster on your center gets 1/1. This applies for himself, and he has Soul Guard. Really nice. We play 2 copies of Ferment. I'm here to tell us about this card after testing the deck out for a week. Size 0, 1/1/3. You can counter call this card from your hand during your opponent's turn when they're swinging. Pay 1 gauge, call it. Redirects the attack to him, so it doesn't even have to be on center. You don't even need a prism on the field to do it. So essentially he's like a shield, but I could just do other things instead of attacking that or whatever for whatever reason. Next we play 2 copies of Almarone. I think that's the name of it. I don't know. It's size 0, 3/1/2. When you call, if you have a 3 on your center, you get 1 gauge. Really nice. It helps you keep things consistent, because calling 3 after 3, you'll have no resource to play anything essentially. Next, play 3 Rizzling. I think that's it. Size 0, 1/1/3. If you have a Prism on your center, size 3 Prism. When you call it, you draw a card. I played it at 4. I didn't like it enough to keep it at 4. Playing at 3 felt a bit more.
I get 6 on uncut boosters.
playing it at 3 felt a bit more safe, I guess. So if I go first, essentially I can always call a 3 to get off his effect, because I don't like necessarily calling him when I can't draw the extra card. I like him to replace himself, essentially.
I'm gonna get that pen armor.
On the items, play 5. You play 1 crystal mark, 1 gauge of equipment, no power, no crit, 4 defense. The prism on your center gets 1/1, and at the end of the battle, after your opponent swings on a prism, if you still have 1 on your center, you get a gauge. So again, keeping the resources up to do anything you want, essentially keep your monsters and so forth. And then we play the Crystal Jordan. Same thing, no crit, no power, 4 defense. The abilities of the prism on your center can't be nullified, and so as well as this card, they get 2/2. And when your opponent swings on a prism, if you still have 1 on the center, you burn 1. Pretty nice. The go-to items, that's why I was at 4. I played a backup because playing 4 doesn't feel necessarily safe to me. Next, for Radiant Shells, you can only cast it if you have a Prism Dragon on your field. Prism Dragon monster on your field, so don't even got to be on the center, which is nice. Pay 1 gauge, nullify an attack, burn 1. It's like a ghetto shield, so it can steal games if you're at low life, or if your opponent's at low life. And with the shoes, hi Brandon. With the shoes, you activate this. It's 2. 2 damage. Hell yeah!
I literally want to bring you this and give you this. What's this?
Next time we play 4 copies of Brush Upper. Brush Upper is your go-to to keep all your dragons alive, and you get a gauge. You can only cast it if you got a prism or your center, so again, doesn't care about size, and that's all I necessarily want. Next time, the prism you choose would be to destroy it, leave the field, whatever. You keep it there, and you get 1 gauge for it if you're at 6 more or less. Next is a card I am very heads and tails about. I like it enough to keep it in here at 2, but I don't like it enough because I don't like discarding cards from my hand, and it don't make me feel like a good player. So play 2 copies of Dead Copy. You can only cast it when a monster on your center is destroyed. Cast cost, discard a card, and then the effect is to call a monster from your drop zone by paying its call cost. So essentially, you could call the monster you discard off of this, on your opponent's turn, which is nice. Or if you have more ways to protect your center, you can let it get destroyed, cast this, call one of your other things to get an advantage, like your Galettes, your Rizzlings, your Alamoras, Almarons, excuse me. Just get resources on your opponent's turn. So it's flexible enough to keep it here, but personally, I wish it had a somewhat different call cost or cast cost. Next, Prism Mod. It's kind of like the same thing. That's why I was up here at 2. Again, I don't necessarily. I want to play it maybe at 3, but I don't want it to be a dead card. So you can only cast it if you have a prism on your center, pay 1 gauge, destroy your opponent's monster on your field with power equal to or less than the defense of the prism on your center. So you call a Thora, that's 9k. You can pretty much blow up anything you want. You call Shell Drain, that goes to 7. Again, there's pretty much everything in the game that you can blow up for the price of 1 gauge, but it's still tough. Next is a Prism Amulet. It's your standard, standard issue Drago Energy clone, kind of. 3/3 counterattack to a Prism Dragon on the field. It doesn't specify monsters, so you can cast it on your item. And since your item does have a printed attack, you can go to 3/7 and knock off something really small if you want to. So it's versatile, but mainly this is only going on monsters. 2 copies of Dispersion is a very nasty card because you pay 2 gauge to draw 2 cards. Next, 2 copies of Mystery Center. Easily can play this at 3, but I like it at 2. No cast cost. You just play it. It goes into the soul of a prism or your field. It can't be ripped, so no Loki, no Secret Swordsman Bow, whatever, which one it is, the one that when it links you destroy something. And when that monster swings, you get 1 gauge. So you give it a soul. Good for setting up all your Kufi plays. And it gives a soul, so it gives it a harder time for your opponent to get rid of that center monster.
That means I'll be playing older in a little while. Get rid of all that shit and I'll pull it out.
Next, play 3 copies of Enhancement. Could play it at 4, but to me, 3 is alright. I only play it at 3 because I want that second added effect to draw a card. Charging 1, then if you got a size 3 prism on your center, draw a card. I don't want to see this too early before I plop down the prism, because then I'm just charging 1, but I want advantage. I want the full effect. So we play it at 3. You can only cast it once per turn. Essentially, it's just a Starjack boost comp. And then we play 2 of the Impact. Could play it at 3. Could play it at 4 if you want it. I want to see this in my hand all the time because essentially it takes away from it gives you tunnel vision in a sense. So you'll start making very silly plays trying to make sure that you can get this off and not worrying about everything else on your field. And that can essentially mess you up a lot more than not cashing that at all. So at 3, it's okay. 2, again, even when I had it at like a higher number than this, I probably maybe got it off. Who knows? Maybe like a couple times in a match. So it's not that that crazy. But you can only cast it if you got a prism on your center. You ain't taking any damage this turn, and your opponent's at 4 life or less, and during their final phase. Pay 2 gauge, deal 4. Basically, you cast this, is game 2 or that's a set, essentially. There's no coming back. You can't revive from it. So once the 4 damage is dealt to you, it's pretty much game over. Right. So that's a profile for that shit. Yeah, don't worry, I'll bleep all this out. Reasons 5. So that's the profile for the Prism Dragons. It's somewhat fun. Other times it can be really homoerotic.
Linear,
yeah, you know. I mean, it's like, what can you really do? It's just the first set. You'll get more shit in June or July, whatever fuck which one it is. But hope you guys learn something from that, or not, whatever. You know, net decking is cool. Peace out.
the best players net deck.